All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual who I'm more so used to doing introductions for MMA Canada, to be honest, but he's getting ready to throw down in some bare knuckle boxing action. CBKC going down on November the 22nd, First Blood, and quite the historic card set to go down with Caleb Ermine taking on my guest today, Ramil Kamilov. How's it going, man? Thanks for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker tonight.
Hey, good man. I'm doing good. Just a quick correction. I am on the bare knuckle card, but my fight will be the only one that's combat boxing. So boxing and MMA gloves.
Oh, interesting. You're not going gloves off for this one.
No. I'd like to keep my gloves on until I'm done with MMA completely, just because in bare knuckle, messing up your hand or like getting cuts on your face with bare knuckles will make you, shorten your overall career, right? It's not a sport that people participate for super long periods of time in, right? You get cuts on your face, they'll open up over and over in your future MMA fights, and I don't want that happening. And it's kind of a happy medium it being in MMA gloves. You don't have to worry quite as much about how hard you're hitting, right? Because you won't hurt your hand. It's not as probable. Whereas in bare knuckle, like guys are a lot more careful with their shot selection. They don't want to hurt their hands. So I'll still be able to blast punches like I always do, but it's just hands only, small gloves.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I guess in the press release I do see a certain wording of combat boxing, but it seems like a lot of the wording in the actual piece is oriented to bare knuckle showdown, bare knuckle. Like, have you had any people reaching out to you who are kind of, I don't know, thinking that same kind of thing? Like maybe there's a confusion about like what this actually is in a certain sense, like in terms of like the rule set that you signed up for. Like, cool to be part of this event and everything like that, just the historic nature of it and all that. But yeah, has there been, I guess, similar confusion that you've kind of had pop up in your purview with this fight? Just people thinking it might be straight ahead bare knuckle.
Just about everyone.
So I guess like how did this all come about then? Like, so I guess it's based on what you're saying. Is it like the BKFC style rule set whereby there's the obviously the stand up boxing portion, but with the active clinch fighting component, but it just happens to be in the MMA gloves. Like that's essentially what the rule set is you're fighting under here.
Brother, that is a very interesting question, and I don't have the answer to it. I don't know the rules fully that I'm fighting, and I should have probably looked that up. But it came about because, the owners, Ryan Ford and Parvez, they're my big bros. We're quite close. And at the time of me signing this fight, it was still up in the air whether we'd have another pro MMA show in Western Canada by the end of the year. Like whether I don't think BFL's doing a show. Unified at that time we weren't sure if they were going to do a show December 12th or not. I needed to stay active. I needed to make money, so uh, that's how this kind of transpired. We signed this fight, and then Unified announced later on that they'd be doing an MMA card. But it's all good. I've always wanted to test myself out in boxing. I never got to test myself out in amateur boxing because the politics in Alberta just mess it up so much. I've been boxing since I was 16, 17 years old. I've sparred lots of pure boxing with just boxers. I've trained lots of pure boxing. I've been in Vegas and sparred at the famous Capetillo gym in the same room as at the same time as. Sorry, I don't know boxing that well. I know the fight, but I don't know the scene so much. It's a top pound for pound guy, Shakur Stevenson, I think is his name.
Oh,
So we
okay,
were
yeah,
sparring in the
that's
same room as him.
hmm.
Yeah, like the next day, Canelo was there, Masvidal was there. So I sparred a Italian boxing Olympian who's undefeated pro. I gave him some really good work. So I'm very confident in my boxing skills, and I'm happy to show it off. Going back to the Alberta thing, is in the amateurs we have a stupid rule over here. I think they try to stop people from leaving boxing, but I think in the end it hurts it. If you fight in an MMA fight or a kickboxing fight, you have to apply with the boxing commission, and then you get a 60-day suspension. So it's not 60-day suspension from the day you had an MMA fight. It's a 60-day suspension from the day you applied and paid their fee. And I did that twice and ended up not fighting boxing, fighting MMA instead. And I was just like, man, this is stupid. I just keep paying money and wasting my time. It's probably not going to happen. So, as always, the politics come and ruin the sport.
Yeah, I was going to ask what that was, but I appreciate you kind of giving that follow up and fleshing that out a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I guess just to serve your point, it's cool that you're able to participate in something that seems, I guess, largely representative of boxing, albeit in smaller gloves and potentially with an active clinch component. But that also kind of illustrates the gamesmanship, which I really love. Like, you don't even necessarily know the rule set front to back, but you're like, get one in to end off 2025 kind of thing.
Yeah, I needed another fight. I've been a little less active this year. And about the gamesmanship, I don't think my opponent is really aware of the rules either too well. So we're just kind of stepping in the scrap. I don't think he's a guy that cares too much either.
No, he's a guy that just seems like such a warrior, like just down to throw down. Like, do you have any? I mean, I guess it's an interesting fight in a couple of regards in terms of like the, I guess, preparation components for it. But I guess just like, what are your overall thoughts on your opponent, Caleb Ermine? Like, it seems like you see him as someone who has like a similar disposition, at least in as far as like, oh, I don't know the exact rule set, but I'm down all the same. Like, what are your thoughts on Caleb Ermine heading into this fight?
Well, the most interesting thing is I recently found out that I grew up with his cousins over here in Calgary. So, I mean, they were some of my very good friends growing up. And it turns out now that they're related to Caleb Ermine. It kind of, like, I kind of thought, wait, Ermine, the last name, it's the same as, my childhood friend Bella and family, Joe, Luke, and all of them. So I decided to ask Bella, and Bella said, yeah, he's somehow a cousin of mine. And that was a really funny, unexpected little thing that happened over there. But we're still all cool with the family. We understand the sport. Uh, as far as Caleb himself, he's very tough. I know he's been looking for a fight for a long time. People may know that I work in some capacity as a matchmaker for Unified, so I do some of that stuff. And I've been talking to him, and we've had a few fights fall through with him, and he's been looking to get active. And he's taking this fight seriously. He's coming out. I'm friends with him on social media. It's all respect, right? I see him. He was doing a raffle to get some money from sponsors. He's going out to train with Stu Fontaine full time out there. And Stu is a guy that I respect as a person and as a fighter, and especially as a coach. I see his students move around. I see some of the systems that he's making, and I really like to see what Stu is doing. And to see Caleb there, it's going to be a guy that's going to be coming in prepared. I'm definitely going to see the best Caleb Ermine, and this sort of plays into his style, right? Like he's a bit more of a brawler. He likes to swing wide. He likes to swing hard, and something like bare knuckle boxing, where he's not going to get taken down, he can just let his hands fly loose. I'm sure he's looking forward to it and to fight against an opponent like myself. I'm one of the louder names in Canadian MMA. He's definitely motivated and excited, and I think he's going to show up and he's going to do his absolute very best. We're going to see a Caleb that we haven't seen before.
And the piece about, being friends with his family is very intriguing. Like, was this around the period of time where you came over to Canada as a teen and you were kind of like, I guess, like trying to integrate yourself into this new place and etc.? Was this around that time?
That's a good point. That's a really good question you asked, and it's you hit the nail on the head over there. When I first came, I was a bit of an out of place immigrant, and not a lot of people accepted me. But the Native community was always very welcoming, very good to me, and I grew up around a lot of them in the city coming up. So yeah, exactly. He was his cousin Joe was one of my first friends in high school. May he rest in peace. We lost him 2 years ago. Uh, but yeah, like I had a, how can I say it? He was a special guy. Uh, yeah, that's all I could probably say on the interview.
And my condolences for the loss too. I don't want to, get into anything that would seem like a interview question after something like that. My condolences for the loss, man.
Hmm. Yeah, it's life, and it is what it is. May he rest in peace.
No, for sure. Just, honoring the legacy and giving acknowledgement. And kind of like what we're saying, seems like he came into your life at a very key time. But there is something about that certain, I guess, cultural perception difference because like even in this excerpt that I'm kind of referencing here with you, it's talking about how I guess there was like a certain I guess dynamic with street fights and the culture of that before you came to Canada, and then you were like, oh, when I got here, I got a $500 ticket for fighting in public. Like I was talking to Tamerlan Dulatov recently, who's fighting in Octagon MMA, and he had a similar thing coming over from Chechnya to I believe it was Germany. And yeah, similar kind of cultural shift where it's like, I guess the normalization of fighting in the streets was kind of something he kind of had to get used to in this new sort of place he was in and whatnot. So it just kind of reminded me of that in a sense.
Yeah, it definitely had its effect on me when I first came. I remember I got into a fight, and even though I got beat up by this one Mexican kid when I was 13, they still like called the cops. They went through my social media. It was crazy. It was just so extra. They suspended me. Then like this cop was like, "Yeah, you're fighting in public, blah 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 blah," and then uh, yeah, there was. It gave me the wrong idea that I can't fight in public. Maybe I can fight in private, but then I got into trouble for that too later on. So I was a little bit confused on what's going on over here. But when I came to Champions Creed when I was 15 years old, that's why it was such a great experience. I went there and I was sparring people, and I was a kid, but I was doing good against the complete noobs. And I was feeling good. And the coaches, I remember my first two striking coaches, Noah Ali and Will Monzon, like they were coming up to me. They're like, "Man, you're really good!" Like, and it was just so weird that not only am I allowed to fight in this place, but now I'm getting praised for it. So that was interesting for sure.
It seems like Champions Creed has been and really still continues to be such like a formative kind of space for you and stuff like that. And it just seems like you're so part of, I guess, just that like Western Canadian combat sports ecosystem in a way. Like you reference how much you, I guess, do behind the scenes with Unified MMA. It seems like the matchmaker role with Absolute MMA has been like a really good fit for you as well. So yeah, I just love to see how, I guess, entrenched you are in that scene out there in a few different roles, it seems like.
For sure. When I first got into MMA, the whole machine, how the whole entire thing worked, always interested me, right? Like I like to think of myself as a smarter guy. So when people came to me and they were like, "Hey man, like this isn't a career, like you need a retirement plan. These fighters are end up broke afterwards." I tried to push that away from myself as much as I could and not get that in my head and not let that become an obstacle to becoming the fighter that I wanted to be. And I willfully turned the blind side to it as much as I could. But parallel to that, I was always still, like interested. Oh, like the announcer, how much money does he make? Like what sort of other positions, like desk positions within MMA, are there where you can make money outside of simply just fighting? Like how does this whole thing work? How do the profits work? How do you own an organization? Like things like this. And as you said, yeah, Champions Creed, I've really found my place there. We have a great coach, and it's only growing, right? The opportunities are only increasing. We're only growing in numbers. We're only getting better. We're growing our systems at the gym. We have a very, like a brilliant guy as the head coach and the head of the whole operation, Brian Bird. I think he likes to stay behind the scenes a little bit more. And the more famous I get and the more momentum I get, the more I understand him. And I also kind of want to be out of the public eye as much as, and I'm not even that big right now. I can't, I'm not even a celebrity, so to speak. I'm not even that big of a name, but enough that I found out recently that I have quite a few more haters than I had. I thought I had zero, but it turns out, people are out here wishing on your downfall. I thought I'm pretty decent to everyone. I'm pretty friendly. I try to make people feel good about themselves even in tough times. But apparently, that's not enough. And I always heard about it, and I was always like, "Oh yeah, people got haters," but I'm all good. I'm all good with people. Like people like me, but yeah, the people I guess don't show their true colors right to your face, and that's been a very interesting thing to me because I judge people based on myself, and I wouldn't expect people to act in ways that I wouldn't act, but I find out that a lot of people don't quite think like me. People can be envious and really not wish the best for you just because maybe they see what they could have become and they didn't become that, or they had untapped potential that they chose to waste, or whatever other reason. I'll even say for myself, I've it's no secret I've been on the UFC radar, and I haven't gone into the UFC for whatever political reasons, let's just say, in the past few years. And I see a lot of my peers, right, make it into the UFC, and I find it hard for myself to not become envious and be like, oh man, it's not that I have any ill feelings towards them, but it does make me feel sometimes in a negative way when I see people, also people on the maybe in the US that ducked me as well and like still make it into the UFC. Like it's hard not to be bitter about that. So I guess I could also understand my haters a little bit.
And where is this sentiment of being a hater coming from? Like, I mean, I guess part of me wants to ask who would be emerging as a hater, or like how you're even becoming privy to the fact that people are presenting themselves to your face in a certain way and then saying something behind your back. Because, I mean, as someone in the media space in combat sports, I'm certainly quite privy to people being a little on the disingenuous side, we'll say, to just try to be gentlemanly about it. But just curious to have you expound upon that a little more if you care to, I suppose.
I'm under instructions not to for a little bit here. I will have to make that public in a little while.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. That sounds like a very intriguing situation. I guess we'll invariably figure that out over time. And that is unfortunate too. I guess, imagine that you saying that you didn't get your UFC shot yet and it's for political reasons. Like maybe that fits within a similar context. Like maybe you're not looking to make that public per se, like the specific reasons as to what that is, like the politics involved in that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's always a lot of behind the scenes things going on, and soon enough, the truth will be found out, and the world will know, and the world will see that, God willing, I will go to where I belong. It's just a question of time, and I did have a bit of a loss of momentum, but nothing's perfect in this game. I've always said to everybody that's coming up, and I've always had this idea in my head that if you become a fighter, you have to throw the word fair out of your vocabulary. You have to forget that word. It doesn't exist. Nothing in this game is fair. It's one of the most unforgiving games, not even a game, unforgiving activities you could participate in. Yeah, we have a lot of quotes to go off of. What was that? That one guy said, Nate the Train.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I get what you're
What was
laying
his
down.
quote again? You probably remember better.
I can't. Is it the? I can't remember it verbatim. Is it the one where he's like, "Oh, I'm bound to win, and if I don't, I'm gonna lose." Like I always think of that quote with him for some reason. Was that the one, or is it another one? Nate the Train.
No, no, no. Like loving the neighborhood promiscuous lady. She'll never
Oh
love you
yes,
back.
yes, yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember it verbatim, but yeah, I do. Yeah, he likened it to a bit of a fickle lady of the night, something of that persuasion, I believe. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I have my own analogy. I have my own analogy that's somewhat similar. Is that fighting can be like a woman. If you pursue it too hard and you're pushing too hard, then it's only going to push you away. Sometimes you have to, leave it alone. And if fighting wants you, then it will be there. But if you pursue it like much too hard, then it's probably going to not happen for you. In some ways, I mean, obviously, there's nuance to my statement. You have to train hard. You have to give it your all. But sometimes it's just pushing you away to focus on other things, and you need to, right? For example, you take a guy that doesn't have his priorities straight. He'll be like borderline homeless, but he's like, no, I must fight, and then everything's going wrong in his life. No, you got to let it go. You got to take a step back to take a few steps forward.
yeah, and I guess with the analogy of, things working out or not working out, just kind of trusting the process in the context of a lady and not being overly pursuing. It seems like you got that on lock as well. Looks like you got married since the last time we talked. So congrats in that regard, man.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely an experience, a positive one too.
I would think that would probably help, like, I mean, you obviously have your own mindset to kind of temper that and stay focused and stay the course. But I would think having a supportive partner, especially in the fight game, like I feel like people I've done interviews with over the years, like having a supportive or even conversely, like obviously this doesn't apply to you, but more of like a hectic partner kind of presence. It's pretty noticeable how much that can inform like what a fighter is, doing on a fight to fight basis and everything like that. So that has to be like an invaluable kind of piece. Like obviously your relationship is far more nuanced than that, but just in the context of us talking about your fighting endeavors and just what we were talking about with like certain politics and some frustrations, I would think that having like a good, solid, consistent partner through that would really pay dividends and help in a massive way for that kind of tempered perspective almost.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways you can look at it, but what I have right now is perfect for me. It works for me. I have a good second half that is very supportive, as supportive as anybody I've ever met in my life. Like some of my friends that I see with the relationships they get into, the women just want to focus on themselves, and when fight week rolls along, it just becomes so hectic, and it can definitely be a detriment to other guys that live in chaos. Maybe they wouldn't be able to do it any other way. Maybe they need that there. Um, I mean, there's something to be said for guys wanting to settle down versus guys staying single, right? There's also the part that if you can't find a supportive partner, it's probably best to, be alone. And then that way you have full accountability for yourself. If you have, like, if you have a partner that's going to be messing up your stuff and then you lose because of that, nobody really cares that it was because of the partner, right? It ultimately falls on you. But I don't know. Like I said, there's so many ways to look at it. You can have a good partner, you can have a bad partner. For some people, having a good partner will probably mess them up and throw them out of whack. And like some guys, they need to stay single to stay hungry and stay, like that. I've historically not had problems with that, so I'm blessed to be able to be that way. But it's also a lot of society programming as well. There's a lot of outside voices. There's a lot of your peers, right? I've been in Canada for quite a long time now, and I can see how the culture affects you. You don't really hear too much about people getting married anymore nowadays. Not in my generation, anyways. People will have kids, they won't stick together, and they won't stay married. It's very rare to see a couple stay together long term. Like even people will have kids, but of my generation, of people who I've met so far, nobody really sticks around, and that's something that I've noticed, and I think that's not by coincidence. I think that's happened due to the culture, due to some of the conditioning we have for whatever reasons, and it really opened my eyes once I got married. That we don't really like talk too much about marriage. Well, maybe we'll talk about having kids in our life, but guys, we don't generally really like think about that much. And it's definitely a change. It's interesting, and it's helped me find a lot about life and a bit about myself. And I'm an introspective philosophical guy a little bit, so I like to delve deep into these questions and sit there and think and try to make sense of the world a little bit.
No, for sure. I mean, you're definitely a cerebral guy, man. It is interesting too, I guess, even not to like, I guess, derail from this point per se, but even just like the prior point of like realizing there are certain people who, I don't know, dislike you or have a certain kind of energy towards you in that regard. Like, I don't know. I mean, you do seem like a very cerebral, measured kind of guy. So I don't know. Maybe it's people that you are like trash talking and stuff like that. Like, I feel like you're pretty good at the trash talking kind of piece, like allocating the cerebral energy in that kind of regard. So maybe that gets interpreted through a certain lens. But yeah, I don't know. You've always seemed like a casual, thoughtful guy to me. But I guess I've never been in the space of fighting or trying to vie for similar spots in that kind of regard.
Definitely, that is definitely something to think about, and I've tried to tone that down a lot because I'm taking a different role now in the Canadian MMA scene. Like I want to grow Canadian MMA. I want to make it big. I've said this before. I want to sort of do like what Conor McGregor did for Ireland. Like I would like to do that for Canada. But if you're going around, there's a nuance to being an active fighter, right? Especially someone like me that even if I don't want to trash talk, it's hard to stop myself from doing it because I won't lie, I enjoy it. It's fun for me.
Mhm.
but I have to stop myself from doing it too much to other Canadian fighters, because then I have to deal with their teams and try to get their guys for fights and things like that. And
Mhm.
like if I want to boost the scene, I can't be trash talking the scene at the same time like that, right? It's kind of really simple in that regard.
I mean, I guess
Like
that's such
there,
a
it's not
yeah.
only going to be that guy that hates me; it's also going to be his gym, his management team, his friends, right? Which, if it's if it's an American guy, I don't care, or a guy from another country, yeah, I'll talk trash. But also, that doesn't quite work the same way, right? Because the thing about trash talking fighters in Canada back when I did it was I could force guys to fight me who otherwise wouldn't by starting to trash talk them, because my fans see it, and we share a lot of the same fans because of the Canadian MMA scene. If I start trash talking some random dude in the US, what does he do? He just blocks me. What am I gonna do? Message all of his followers, hey man, your boy's not fighting me, your boy's not fighting. It's not the same hype. You can just block me and forget about it. So maybe until I get to the UFC, there's not much of a point in trash talking anymore.
And I guess that's such a weird fine balance because you sometimes see those situations with people where the trash talk encroaches into a certain space where the other person's almost like, you know what, I'm not even going to give you an opportunity to compete and have a fight. Like, not even necessarily off of my name per se, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you're trash talking me. And I guess punching you would probably be cathartic to a certain extent, but it's also gotten to a point where I'm just kind of annoyed and I don't even want to like lock something in so as to like give you an opportunity kind of thing. So I guess that's probably like a certain very fine balance to kind of court sometimes.
Yeah, I think if you talk in a certain way and push the right buttons, you can probably get almost anybody to fight you.
And like you said, wouldn't be really like an issue getting to the UFC level and everything like that. But no, it's been good getting to talk to you tonight, Ramil. It's always fun getting to have you on the program and stuff like that. I mean, I guess this is kind of a hybrid of Bare Knuckle Bowker and MMA Canada in a certain sense, but all the same, a historic card and cool to at least see you get in one more, competitive effort this calendar year. It seems like you were really wanting to do that. But I also figured I'd give you the floor in case you maybe had a final thought you wanted to add as we're wrapping up today. I really do appreciate you making the time as always, man.
Yeah, no final thought. Tune in November 22nd. Watch a good fight. Watch me fight boxing and MMA gloves, hands only.
Yeah, it's really awesome what Canadian Bare Knuckle Championship is doing, that kickoff event, which is titled First Blood, definitely apropos. And yeah, should be a great one at Cold Lake Energy Center. I'm kind of playing around with the idea of maybe going out there and seeing that card with a friend as well. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in that kind of regard. But in any event, what is for sure happening is this combat boxing fight with yourself and Caleb Ermine. And yeah, it's always great getting to talk to you, Ramil. Again, to reiterate, definitely appreciate having you on tonight. And thanks so much for the insights and looking forward to peeping this fight. But until then, you have a good rest of your night. And thank you for the great insights.
Likewise, my friend. We'll talk soon.